This is probably one of the saddest videos I had to make. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are 10 Amber Alert cases that were never solved. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get searching. Number 10, Bryan dos Santos Gomes. Baby Bryan dos Santos Gomes was only 4 weeks old when he went missing 15 years ago. The newborn was ripped away from his mother's arms in Fort Myers. Wing Canoe's safety and security specialist Rich Kolko said detectives certainly have a lot of challenges when it comes to tracking down this boy.
We don't know, is Bryan here? Is Bryan back in Brazil or in a different country? So many unanswered questions that are going to make this case very, very difficult to solve. Is it impossible? No. Is it unlikely? Yeah.
His mother told police a woman abducted Bryan at knife point on December 1st, 2006. Back then, fewer people had surveillance cameras and fewer people used social media. Kolko said because of all that, it made a detective's job much harder. Detectives continue to check every available lead. They can then go back and re-interview witnesses when they find them. They'll use those age-enhanced photos. Investigators are working just as hard to bring him home. We hear a lot of these just don't end well over time, Kolko added. But every now and then you hear one with a happy ending.
It was just days after she said she got into a car with a woman who asked for directions, held her knife point, and took off with her baby, Bryan.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said Bryan's abductor is described as a woman estimated to be approximately 43 to 45 in age with long, straight black hair. She was traveling in a two-door black Ford Explorer SUV. She could be armed and dangerous.
Here's what he looked like when he was taken, and here's what he could look like now. The kidnapping rocked the community.
Number 9, Zaylee Fryar.
Fryar and her baby Zaylee were last seen together days before police found Shauna's body in the Cumberland River 4 years ago.
She disappeared with her mother, Shauna Mary Fryar. Shauna's husband, Michael Fryar, left their home to go to the store at 9 p.m., only to return to find both Shauna and Zaylee gone. Shauna's car, mobile phone, and wallet, as well as Zaylee's diapers, were left behind. It was usual for Shauna to drop out of sight and come home, so Michael didn't report them missing until May 5th. She had a history of substance abuse and may have been gone looking for substances that day. Shauna's body was pulled out of the Cumberland River on May 6th, which was identified after 4 days. She was 28 at the time of her passing. There was no sign of Zaylee at the scene though. It is believed that she was executed in Millersville before her body was dumped to the riverbed, yet a cause of passing hasn't been disclosed.
There's days that go by, whenever we're really busy, and it might not, be on our mind. But then there's those days whenever it seems like that's all that is on our mind.
They have 2 suspects in the execution, neither of whose names are publicly released. Shauna and Michael were married in 1999 and separated in 2005. Both of them dated others, and only 2 of Shauna's 8 children were Michael's, but they remained married and were on friendly terms. Whenever she needed, Michael let Shauna stay at his home. The mother and daughter were living in Nashville and were homeless again before moving in with him, only a few days before going missing. Number 8, Sofia Juarez. Sofia disappeared shortly after 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 4th, 2003, one day before her 5th birthday. She was at home with her mother, playing with some of her young uncles. Jose Lopez Torres, her grandmother's boyfriend, was preparing to leave for a nearby convenience store and had asked the children if they wanted to join. Although the others refused, Sofia decided to take him up on the offer at the last minute. Torres, however, was not aware that she had changed her mind and left the house without Sofia. Around this time, Sofia asked her mother for $1 to spend at the store. Maria watched Sofia leave the room and heard her close the door as she left the house. The last confirmed sighting of Sofia was by her mother, when Sofia left the house that evening. When she left the house, Sofia wore a red long-sleeved shirt, blue overalls, violet socks, white Converse sneakers, and gold hoop earrings. Although the temperature outside was roughly 36 degrees Fahrenheit or 2 degrees Celsius, she left the house without a coat. After arriving at the store, Torres purchased milk and made a call on a payphone to relatives in Mexico before returning home at 21:45. Back at the house, he and Maria became aware of the miscommunication and that Sofia had nonetheless left the house to join him. After quickly searching for her daughter, Maria contacted police at 21:53. Number 7, Bianca Piper. Bianca Noelle Piper is a 13-year-old girl living in Foley, Missouri. On March 10, 2005, her mother dropped her off at McIntosh Hill Road, a mile from their home. She had been having anger management problems and had a meltdown triggered by being asked to do her chores on the day of her disappearance. Her therapist advised her mother to drive her a distance from home and make her walk back alone to deal with her aggression. On this day, she had asked to be dropped off further from home than before, but on this day, she never made it home. Her mother reported her missing at 8:20 p.m. Bianca had been carrying a flashlight at the time she disappeared. Investigators first believed she had become lost on her way home, but an extensive search for her found no trace of her. She had no history of running away from home, and investigators believe that she's been abducted. Number 6. Kahmila and Luis Ramirez. It has been nearly 5 years since the Ramirez siblings were last seen in Tucson after their parents allegedly kidnapped them during a supervised visit. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children recently released new age progression photos of what 5-year-old Kahmila Ramirez and 10-year-old Luis Ramirez may look like now. In 2018, police said Luis Sr. and Andrea Vanessa Ramirez allegedly assaulted a Department of Child Services contract employee. They said they tied the employee to a tree and tased them before abducting the children. Luis was 5 years old and Kahmila was 6 months old at the time of the kidnapping. News 4 Tucson obtained video of the couple crossing into Nogales with the children on May 5, 2019. In 2019, both Luis and Vanessa Andrea Ramirez were found guilty for child abuse. According to officials, 2 days before they abducted their children, Luis and Vanessa Andrea Ramirez were arraigned on 20 counts of intimate exploitation and child abuse. Officials said the intimate exploitation charges did not involve the children of Luis and Vanessa Ramirez. Number 5. Amber Hagerman. Amber Renee Hagerman was a 9-year-old girl abducted while riding her bike in Arlington, Texas. Her younger brother Ricky had gone home without her because Amber had wanted to stay in the parking lot for a while. When he returned with his grandfather, they only found her bicycle. A neighbor who had witnessed the abduction called 911. On hearing the news, Hagerman's father, Richard, called Mark Kloss, whose daughter Polly had been kidnapped and ended in Petaluma, California in 1993. Amber's mother, Donna Whitson, now Donna Norris, called the news media and the FBI. They and their neighbors began searching for Amber. 4 days after her abduction, near midnight, a man walking his dog discovered Amber's body in a creek behind an apartment complex with severe laceration wounds to her neck. The site of the discovery was less than 5 miles or 8 kilometers from where she was abducted. Her execution remains unsolved as of 2023, which is currently 27 years. Although her body was found, it wasn't in time, and she was a big factor in the creation of the Amber Alert service, so I thought I'd include her in the list. Number 4. Andrew Caballeiro. Police continue seeking the public's help in finding a missing infant whose father was found executed in an apparent self-harm after 3 family members were executed in southwest Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade police have increased their reward to $8,000 for information on the disappearance of Andrew Caballero, who was taken from the home in Redland on January 28th by his 49-year-old father Ernesto. Ernesto Caballero was found executed on January 29th from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound after traveling from Miami-Dade to Pasco County. The Amber Alert was issued earlier that day after a family member discovered 3 women, including the baby's mother, 40-year-old Arleti Garcia Valdez, as well as his grandmother and great-grandmother. A private investigator hired by the family said in February, shortly after police ended their active search, that they were still tracing the possible route Caballero took to Pasco County from South Florida. Number 3. Zachary Bernhardt. A Pasco County aunt is still waiting for answers after her nephew disappeared from a Clearwater apartment complex nearly 23 years ago. On September 11, 2000, 8-year-old Zachary Bernhardt was reported missing from his apartment on Drew Street in the middle of the night. Clearwater police said that the case remains unsolved and detectives are committed to solving the case. Billy Jo Jimenez, Zachary's aunt, said her nephew was creative and loved to decorate for Christmas. He was shy, of course, when he met people, but it didn't take him long to warm up, she said. He had a love of Christmas decorations. Every kid loves Christmas, but he loved the decorating part of Christmas. He was always in the store. He loved planting flowers. Detectives released an age progression photo showing how Zachary might look today.
It's been very hard to have coverage for him. Bands he is missing on 9/11.
They've also showed constant support to Zachary's mother, Leah, who faced her own obstacles being questioned in her son's disappearance early on in the investigation.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement held its Florida Missing Children's Day, a ceremony to remember missing children across the state. Zachary's aunt and grandmother attended the ceremony in Tallahassee. She encouraged people to pay attention to missing children flyers. Take a look at everybody's children. The flyers, you know, she said. Take a look at them and remember they could be skinnier, they could be heavier, they could have purple hair, they could have tattoos, but take a look. but don't second guess yourself. If your instinct tells you, call law enforcement. Number 2, Trenten Duckett. 16 years ago, Josh was a young father of a 2-year-old boy going through a nasty divorce with the toddler's mom, Melinda Duckett. After Melinda hacked one of Josh's social media accounts and sent herself a threatening MySpace message, Melinda was granted an injunction and all custody and visitation rights were snatched away from Josh. He never imagined when he took Trenten swimming for the weekend just before the message was sent that would be the last time he saw his smiling little boy who is learning to use the potty on his own. And now the tiny toddler residents of Lake County and people all around the country prayed for is an 18-year-old man if he is still alive. Many theories have been thrown around over the years by law enforcement, family, friends, strangers, and armchair detectives, but there is no evidence Trenten is deceased. There is no verifiable proof he has passed away, said Leesburg Police Captain Joe Iozzi. Number 1, Jarkeius Adside. Jarkeius' babysitter Gwendolyn Brown, who's looking after him while his parents were in jail, reported to police on October 18, 2001 that the house had been robbed that morning while she walked her teenage daughter to the bus stop, and that Jarkeius had been abducted by 3 unidentified men. When she returned home, the men confronted her and her boyfriend, Jeffrey Cochran, before bounding them with duct tape and demanding money. As the house was robbed and the two tried to free themselves, they heard a single gunshot, and when they got free, they saw that Jarkeius and several items were missing. In addition, a mattress, sheets, and other areas of the house were blood-stained. The blood was confirmed to be Jarkeius's, and investigators believed that he may have been seriously injured or ended. Investigators publicly expressed skepticism of Brown's account of the abduction, including the fact that she and Cochran didn't call police for 2 hours after Jarkeius was abducted, which they stated was because it took them this long to free themselves. Law enforcement subsequently found several grams of a certain substance in the house and arrested both Brown and Cochran on substance charges. Cochran has an extensive criminal history, but it has not been stated whether or not Brown has a criminal history. No one has been charged in Jarkeius' disappearance, and the case has gone cold. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time on Crime Time.